So good afternoon, students. We will continue with the chapter, The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, from page number 99, where we left off, where both Shmuel and Bruno are talking about the countries they belong to. I've never been to Berlin, said Shmuel. And I don't think I've ever been to Poland, said Bruno. So both of them had never been to each other's countries. Shmuel had never been to Berlin before, and Bruno had never been to Poland before. Where I come from is a lot nicer, said Shmuel. So Shmuel told Bruno that Poland is a very good place than here in Germany, where I'm staying now. I think my country is a lot nicer. It's certainly not as nice as Berlin, said Bruno. So Bruno disagreed with Shmuel. He said, I'm sure that Poland cannot be as nice as my country, Berlin. Okay, so he disagreed with Shmuel and said, no, I think Berlin is better than Poland. In Berlin, we had a big house with 5 floors, and it was much nicer before things changed. So if you see from the point of Bruno, you will realize that although he is in a much better position even now than what Shmuel is in, of course, he is in a big trouble, and these small boys do not understand that. So small things mattered to Bruno, although he was a German commander's son and he was in a much better position than Shmuel. He tells Shmuel that Berlin was much better than Auschwitz. And in Berlin, I had a huge house which had 5 floors, and things have changed now. It was much nicer before everything else changed. How? Asked Shmuel. Shmuel said, how have things changed for you? Well, it used to be very quiet there. There means in Berlin. In Berlin, Berlin was a very quiet place before everything changed, explained Bruno, who didn't like to talk about how things had changed. So Bruno never liked to talk to anyone about how things had changed, how his life had changed, how it was before everything changed. He never liked to talk to anyone, but now that he had found a company, a boy of his age, after so many days, he wanted to tell him how his life had changed. Okay, before the World War, things were different, and after the World War started, a lot of things had changed in the lives of normal people also. So war brings about a change in people's lives. A war is not good for anyone, not only for the two armies that are fighting each other, or for the not only for the two countries, armies which are fighting each other, but it is the war brings destruction and affects every other person. So a war is not good for even the normal people because they are also affected by wars. So how did Bruno's life change before he came to Auschwitz? Now he's going to tell Shmuel that. And I was able to read in bed at night, but now it's quite noisy sometimes and scary. And we have to turn all the lights off when it starts to get dark due to the possibility of air raids by enemy Air Force aeroplanes at night. So this is the change which had come into Bruno's life in Berlin itself. Okay, Berlin was used to be a very quiet place before the war started, before the Second World War started, and Bruno had experienced this change in his life in Berlin itself, because before the war had started, he used to go to bed. He used to read, and then after that he used to sleep. So before going to sleep, he always used to read a book in bed, but that was not possible after the war started, because it had become, first of all, it had become very noisy. The first point he said in the beginning, he told Shmuel that Berlin used to be a very quiet place before, but after the war started, it had become very noisy. So he could not read at night. And secondly, it had become scary also. Why scary? Because at night, the enemy aeroplanes used to hover over the city, and there used to be air raids. Air raids means dropping bombs using aeroplanes by enemy forces. So enemy forces used to drop bombs on the city, anywhere in the city, using aeroplanes. So nights also, there was no safety. Although the rules of a war say that at night time there should be no attacks, but Enemy air raids were very common during that time, during the World War time. So they used to, aeroplanes used to be hovering around, and aeroplanes when hovering around very close to you are very noisy. It makes a lot of noise, and you never know when they would drop bombs. So everyone was asked to switch off the lights of their homes as soon as it became dark. You were asked, you were ordered to switch off the lights so that the aeroplanes couldn't trace wherever there were civilians living. So if they found that civilians are living in a particular place, they would see a lot of lights, they would drop bombs there, killing a lot of civilian people, population. Therefore, everyone by order had to switch off their lights as soon as it got dark, to avoid the air raids, to avoid the enemy aeroplanes dropping bombs in those congested, populated places where civilians used to reside. So he said that this was the change he had experienced. As soon as the war started, Berlin used to be a very quiet place, but it became noisy, and at night they had to switch off the lights, and he was not able to read in bed because of that, due to the air raids by enemy forces. This is how his life had changed in Berlin. Where I come from is much nicer than Berlin, said Schmuel, who had never been to Berlin. So Schmuel had never been to Berlin, but still he insisted, I think where I come from Poland, is much nicer than your Berlin. Although he had never been to Berlin, still the boys disagreed with each other about their own um, homes, their own countries. They differed with each other. He said, I think then Poland is much better than Berlin. Like from what you describe about Berlin, I think Poland is much nicer. Everyone there is very friendly, and we have lots of people in our family, and the food is a lot better too. Lot better than where? Lot better than Auschwitz. Obviously, they were prisoners of war in Auschwitz, and they would not be getting very good food. So this boy mentions that where I lived in Poland, it was a very friendly country. People were very friendly there, and I had a huge, big family over there, lots of people in our family, and the food used to be a lot better than this place also. Well, we'll have to agree to disagree, said Bruno, who didn't want to fight with his new friend. We'll have to agree to disagree means that both of them, Bruno said, did not want to fight with his new friend over which country was better, whether Berlin was better or Poland was better. So he decided to that it was better to end the matter over there. And he told Schmuel that, okay, we can disagree with each other on this topic. So you think that Poland is nicer, it's okay. And I think that Berlin was much better. That is my opinion. So we both can agree to disagree. All right, said Schmuel. Can I ask you something? Bruno asked after a moment. So Bruno asked Schmuel, can I ask you something? Yes, said Schmuel. Bruno thought about it. He wanted to phrase the question just right. So Bruno took his time to ask the question he wanted to ask Schmuel. Why? Because he wanted to construct his question properly so that it wouldn't hurt Schmuel. So wanted to phrase the question just right means that Bruno wanted to make sure that his question would not offend Schmuel in any way. He wanted to coin a proper sentence before asking him a question. Why are there so many people on that side of the fence? He asked. And what are you all doing there? So Bruno, before asking, actually he was very curious from the beginning because his father never answered the questions he asked. So he was a little apprehensive whether Schmuel would tell him or not what they were doing, why were they there, why were there so many people on that side of the fence, what all did they do there. He wanted to know. So he asked him very carefully, he asked Schmuel that why are there so many people on your side of the fence whereas I have no one, and what do you all do there all day? All I know is this, began Schmuel. Before we came here, I lived with my mother and father and my brother Joseph in a small flat above the store where Papa makes his watches. So even this boy, Schmuel, who lived on the other side of the fence, had no answer to Bruno's question. He did not answer him directly as to what they all did there because he himself didn't know. As a small boy, he didn't know why he was brought there, why they were kept there, why there were so many people on his side of the fence, and what they did, why were they brought there. He had no answers. So instead, he told Bruno about his family. He said that before I came here, I was living with my mother and father and my brother Joseph in a small flat in Poland, and in on the first floor, and on the ground floor, my papa, his father, had a store. Store means a shop where he used to make watches and mend watches. Every morning we ate our breakfast together at 7 o'clock, and while we went to school, papa mended the watches that people brought to him and made new ones too. So he is telling about their daily routine when he was in Poland. He said at 7 o'clock, we all used to have breakfast together, after which we used to go to school. Me, my brother, and my mother also was a teacher in the same school, while Papa used to go to his shop where people used to send him watches. People used to get their watches to be repaired to him. He used to go to his shop, and he also made new watches. I had a beautiful watch with a golden face that he gave me, but I don't have it anymore. So very sorrowfully, he is telling Bruno that my father had made me a beautiful watch which had a golden face, and he gave it to me, but I don't have it. I don't possess it anymore. What happened to it? Asked Bruno. The soldiers took it from me, said Shmuel, as if this was the most obvious thing in the world. Okay. So Bruno asked Shmuel, what happened to your watch? So Shmuel replied that obviously in a very obvious tone that, the soldiers who came to take us away from our home, they have taken away my watch also. Most obvious means most clear answer. It was a very easy answer for him to give. You can easily understand that if the soldiers have brought me here and have kept us here, and they have taken away my watch also. And then one day things started to change. He continued. He continued his story from where he had left off, from where he had told him that my father used to make watches, and from there he had just slightly drifted off by telling him about his golden watch. And then Bruno questioned him, what happened to your watch? And he said, the soldiers took it from me. But then he continued his story, and he told Bruno that one day everything changed. I came home from school and my mother said we couldn't live in our house anymore. And there is a dash there to indicate that he is lost in thought. He's gone back to the day where he's remembering that particular day when this thing had happened. Their entire life changed on that day. That when he came back from school one day, his mother told him that they were not allowed to live in their home anymore, any longer. That happened to me too, shouted Bruno, delighted that he wasn't the only boy who'd been forced to move. So Bruno is comparing his situation with Shmuel's situation, which is again very ironical because his situation had not changed for the worse, whereas Shmuel's condition was much worse than Bruno could ever imagine. Okay, so he also shouted, oh, same pinch that happened, this thing happened to me also. One day, my life changed and I had to move here. I had to leave my home in Berlin and come here. He was very delighted at the prospect that his story and Shmuel's story were so similar. Even their birth dates were similar and their stories also looked very similar. Apart from the fact that their parents and their homes were Bruno was the son of a commander. So he had a huge house with 5 floors, and Shmuel lived in a small flat with his parents, and his father was only a simple watchmaker. So these were the differences in their situations, but Bruno tried to find similarities in their situation. And he said, yes, the same thing happened to me also. One day, suddenly, I had to also leave my home and move here. We had been forced to move. So here, the force with which Shmuel was moved and the force with which they were asked to move were totally different. Now look at Bruno's story, what he says. The Fury, because he is not able to pronounce Führer properly. Führer was Adolf Hitler. I had told you earlier, Führer refers to Adolf Hitler. The Fury came for dinner, you see, and the next thing I knew, we moved here, and I hate it here. He added in a loud voice, did he come to your house and do the same thing? So this boy is very innocent. He is saying, you know, what happened to me also. One day, Adolf Hitler, that is Führer, came to his home for dinner because his father was a senior commander in the German army. So Adolf Hitler must have visited them. And he said, after that dinner, our life also changed and we were asked to shift to this place in Auschwitz because his father got posted to Auschwitz because he was in charge of this camp, this concentration camp where Shmuel lived. And he also told Shmuel that I hate it here. I don't like this place. Did he? And he also questions Shmuel that did Adolf Hitler, did the Führer come to your place also and asked you to do the same thing? So this is the innocence of the boys. They are so innocent, they don't understand life. He did not know at all the situation in which Shmuel was asked to leave his home and the situations in which he was asked to leave his home. No, we were told that we couldn't live in our house, and one day the soldiers came with huge trucks. Now, Shmuel is telling Bruno how and when, under what circumstances was he asked to leave his home. He said, one day we were told just that we can't live here in our house in Poland, and the soldiers came in huge trucks. And everyone was told to leave our houses, and the trucks took us to a train. And the train, he hesitated for a moment and bit his lip. Again, while telling his story, continuously Shmuel was hesitating. He was stopping in between the story because the story was so painful for him. It was a very painful day for him. So he was having a little difficulty in telling this story to Bruno because he kept on remembering how dreadful the day was for the family. He said one day huge trucks came and the soldiers were there in those trucks and they asked all of us to leave our houses, and we were taken in those trucks, and the trucks took us to a train. Now, after saying the word train, he again hesitated, means he paused, he stopped. He did not want to continue with the painful story. Bruno thought that he was going to start crying and couldn't understand why. So Bruno did not know his situation at all because he had not been through all that Shmuel had been through, and therefore Bruno thought that it looked as if Shmuel was going to cry. When he remembered the train, when he talked about the train, Bruno thought that he saw tears in the eyes of Shmuel. The train was horrible, said Shmuel. There were too many of us in the carriages for one thing, and it was suffocating and smelled awful. So why was the train horrible? You can be asked, why was the train horrible? Shmuel gave two reasons for it. First reason was that there were too many people crowded in one coach. One single coach had carriages. Here refers to the coach in a train. There were too many of us. That means there were too many people accommodated in one single coach. Okay, the more than the coach could hold. There were too many people crowded together in one single coach, and for one thing means this is one reason. And the second reason he gives was that it was suffocating and smelled awful. It would have smelled awful because so many people, the sweat and the grime and the dust, all those people, the smell was awful in the train, and it was suffocating. Why suffocating? Because so many people together were gathered together that it was getting difficult for them to breathe also. When the train finally stopped, continued Shmuel, we were in a very cold place and we all had to walk here. Here means to Auschwitz. So where the train stopped, and where the train stopped, it was a very, very cold place, and they had to get off the train, and from the train to this concentration camp, they were made to walk. Okay, there was no other way. They were brought here. There were no cars, no trucks over here. After they got off the train, they had to walk till the concentration camp. All had to walk here means till the concentration camp. And Mama was taken away from us. So I told you the women were kept in a separate place. So that was the pain he had to go through. He had to apart from his mother also on that fateful day, on that day when they were asked to leave their homes. Not only did they lose their home, but he lost his mother also because the mother was separated. And Papa and Joseph and I were put into the huts over there, and that's where we've been ever since. So this is his story. He tells the story uh, to Bruno in this manner, how he arrived at Auschwitz. He has related that story to Bruno now, that from that day onwards, Mama was separated from us, and he and his brother and his father have been living in the huts meant for them in the concentration camp ever since that day. Shmuel looked very sad when he told this. Obviously he was sad, he had pain in his eyes because he had lost his mother, he had lost his home, and he had no idea also why they were brought here. They were not kept in very good conditions, they were not given good food over there because they were prisoners and they had been brought here to be killed, all of us know. So he must be feeling very sorry, thinking about his life before everything changed. Are there many other boys over there? Asked Bruno. So Bruno's life was totally different. His only thing was that he did not have any company to play with. The topmost problem in his mind was that alone. Hundreds, said Shmuel. So you imagine hundreds of small boys of Shmuel's age were there to be killed. Bruno's eyes opened wide. Hundreds, he said, amazed. That's not fair at all. There's no one to play with on this side of the fence, not a single person. So again, we see the contrast in their lives. The contrast is that Bruno is only still thinking about the company Shmuel must be having. He must be playing all day. He has hundreds of children on his side, whereas life was so unfair to him. The life being unfair to him is that he did not have a single person, single company, single boy to play with. Okay, so this was his biggest problem in life just now, whereas compared to Shmuel's problem, it was so tiny, so minuscule. Perhaps I could come and meet your friends, said Bruno. So Bruno was so excited, he said, perhaps I can also one day come and meet your friends on that side of the fence. He had hoped that Shmuel would suggest this himself, but there didn't seem to be any sign of that. So Bruno had expected, hoped means he had expected that Shmuel will himself invite him and tell him that come to my side and I will introduce you to my friends and we can all play. Like normally it happens, two neighbors, they meet and they say, okay, you have so many friends over here. Okay, let me introduce you to my friends and we can all play together. So Bruno was very simple, very innocent. He was thinking that Shmuel would himself invite him over to his side of the fence and he will introduce him to the hundreds of boys on the other side. But that didn't happen. So he himself invited himself over. He said that, can I come to meet your friends on that side? You're on the wrong side of the fence though, said Shmuel. Shmuel was a little bit more aware of the situation. You can say that he had suffered so much that he was a little more sensitive. He said, but you are on the wrong side of the fence. How can you come this side? So he must be aware of the fact that people on the other side of the fence could not cross over to his side. Therefore, he questions Bruno, but you are on the other side of the fence. How can you come this side? I could crawl under, but Bruno was so excited. He said, I can crawl under the fence, reaching down and lifting the barbed wire off the ground. So he had already made plans how he would crawl under the barbed wire, under the fence. Barbed wire is a security wire. You must have seen that borders of the country, all borders between countries will have these barbed wires, these spiked wires, so that one cannot cross easily to one other side of the border. So there were barbed wires, but Bruno said, I'm so small, I can easily crawl under these barbed wires. In the center, between the wooden telegraph poles means the poles which were there for receiving the telephone signals. It lifted quite easily and a boy as small as Bruno could easily fit through. So he had already seen that where the wooden telegraph poles were there, in the center of the barbed fencing, the wire could be easily lifted and a small boy like Bruno could easily go to the other side if he crawled under those barbed wires. So he had thought about everything. So this is the story, and you know that I have already told you the summary of the story, what happens, and this is only when they both meet. This is the story when they both meet for the first time. And after this, they keep meeting each other until one day Shmuel tells Bruno about his missing father. He said, my father is missing, and Bruno crosses the fence on that particular day, telling him that let me look for your father. Let us both look for your father together. And that is when Bruno crosses the fence, and on that fateful day itself, they are taken to the gas chamber where both obviously die. So this is what the story is given in your book, the extract from the novel. This is the extract which is given in your book. And you all can go through the novel if you can lay hands on it, or you can watch the movie when you get the assignment. I will share the links to the movie also. Okay.